Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ رِجَالٌ صَدَقُوا مَا عَاهَدُوا اللَّهِ. Among the believers are men who have been true to their covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions two characteristics of the believers. Rijal, that they are men, and sadaqu, that they are truthful. So not every person who claims to be a man is in fact a man. These are special men that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to. These are the real men. These were the men that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was referring to, who stood by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the times got tough. These are the people who remained true to their contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they did not desert the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They stood by him through the hardship, through the difficulty. So that's what we have to do is keep our contract with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and remain steadfast under all the difficulty that we are experiencing today. Remain truthful to your covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't let the pressure get to you. Don't compromise, don't give in. Don't resort to lying to avoid the pressure. Be truthful. The second thing is to follow the Prophet ﷺ, as I mentioned last time as well. To perfect our moral character, to be truthful, we have the best example in Rasulullah ﷺ. When the Prophet ﷺ, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered him to invite people to Islam, the Prophet ﷺ went to Mount Safa and gathered the Quraysh. And when they all met, he said to them, if I were to tell you that behind the hill there was an enemy ready to attack you, would you believe me? The people responded with one voice, saying that they never had so far experienced a lie from him. And that is why they called the Prophet ﷺ as-Sadiq al-Amin, truthful and the trustworthy. So that's what we need to do. We need to follow in the footsteps of our Prophet ﷺ, so that people will call us too. Those people are truthful. They are honest. They do not lie. And the last thing is, after keeping your covenant with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and following the Prophet ﷺ, be with those people who are truthful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. Oh, you believe, keep your duty to Allah and fear Him and be with the truthful. So look at who your friends are. Look at the people you are hanging out with. Are they truthful or not? And if you find them not to be truthful, dump them. Choose new friends. It's easy. Choose new friends. Come to this place, you'll find people who are truthful. Hang out with them. Because that's one sure way for you also to become truthful. Because that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to include us amongst the Sadiqeen, those who are truthful. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us for all the lies that we have uttered and done in the past. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us from today forward to be truthful, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه فيغفر المستغفرين وإن نجاة التائبين. Any questions?
I think one concept that we need to actually get across to the community, especially those ones who may be on Centrelink and have a job on the side. I think there's a thought out there amongst the people that do that you know, paying taxes are haram, so it's okay for us to do this because we're getting it from the taxes from the government. Whereas in fact we are living in another country and we need to abide by those laws, and if there's legal ways for us to reduce that tax, then we should go about finding those ways to do it. But cheating the system, as you said, I think it's
a friend of mine told me when I was in high school something that I have never forgotten. The human mind has an unlimited capacity to justify itself. Unlimited. And that's where these people fit into. They fit into that category. Justifying it for thamanan qalila, for a small gain. That's their justification. Because the other question that I normally ask is, okay, if we make this government, a Muslim government tomorrow, not that we are, which we don't have any intentions to. It's just a hypothetical. Would they cheat on their taxes or immediately tomorrow stop cheating on Centrelink? Would they? The Muslims living in Muslim countries, do they cheat the system? Is there rashwa? Is there bribery in the Muslim countries? How do you get your passport and your visa quickly? You have to put a green colored paper in your passport, isn't it? When you hand it to the customs officer. At most of the borders, the Muslim borders. So that logic is false, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu awfu bil uqud. O you who believe, honor your contracts. And as citizens of this country, we have a contract with this country. So it's just another contract that we have. And we have to fulfill our contracts. Each citizen, each Australian citizen living in this country has a contract with this country. And people are talking about the values, the Australian values, and what's in that contract. You should find out what those values are. The government's going to try and introduce a citizenship test soon. So we'll find out soon what those contracts are. Another question? Any other questions? No more questions? The question is in regards to what you mentioned about doubt. If we are in salah, prayer, and are unsure about the number of rak'ah we have done or sajda, do we do another one? It's the same with the wudu. You go by the number that you are certain of. The number of rak'ah that you are certain of. So if you are not sure whether you have done 4 or 3, but you are sure that you made 3 rak'ah, then do the 4th one. I'm censoring these questions first. I hope you don't mind. No, it's just my eyesight is very bad. I need to read it first, so I don't make any mistakes. Okay, this question, just to paraphrase the question, it's one of the sisters who feels that her iman used to be very, very strong, but she feels that it has weakened recently, and that she's drifting away from the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What should she do? Anybody got some suggestions for the sister as to what she should do? Think about death. So sister, the brothers are suggesting, these brothers are very helpful, mashallah. The first brother suggested that you look at your intention, think about death. Yes, brother?
It's natural for movement.
The brother is saying that it is normal for all believers for their iman to fluctuate, to go up and down from time to time. So she needs to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to strengthen her iman.
What kind of truthful people is she hanging out with?
Yes, look at her companions. Is she hanging out with people who are truthful and with strong iman? Make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and that's very important. In our call for help, whenever we feel helpless or in need of some help, we should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. So the sister should turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthens her iman.
I think if she attends classes like these and other inshallah.
Yes, so the brother is suggesting that the sister attends more classes like these and listen to Islamic lectures and talks, so that will help her strengthen her iman. Read the Quran. That is the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's where we all gain strength from. Same. Any other suggestions?
Yeah, make dhikr constantly.
Remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Try to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala constantly. One of the important things, sorry brother, yes. No, go ahead.
It could be that she feels that the iman is gone because she's not doing this.
Yes, the brother is mentioning something very important, that sometimes what happens is you do one kind of ibadah and you do a lot of it, but it's only natural for us to get tired of it. So that does not necessarily mean that the iman is weakening. And the brother is suggesting that we vary the type of ibadah that we do. And that is very important. We all go through the process of burning.